Hello, and welcome to the Body Fusion Therapy Podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Heather Demirci. Today's episode is going to be a continuation of the posture series we started last week when we talked about sleep. So we're going to talk about sitting today. Ergonomics can be really tricky, and there are even certifications that physical therapists can get in this area because there is so much information. Like there are physical therapists in the corporate world where their job is purely about ergonomics and getting people sitting comfortably so they don't get injured. So it can be really complex, well, seemingly complex, but if you focus on a few key areas, it will fix the majority of your pain when you're sitting. So in today's episode, we're going to be talking about where the focus of support should be when you're sitting, how to find just that right chair, but then what modifications can you make or do to that chair if you can't find the perfect one? Because let's face it, you're not always going to be in a situation where you're sitting in the best chair possible. So what can you do to help yourself? Let's start about first where we should focus when it comes to sitting. Now let's start from the base. You need to be sitting more on your pelvic floor. That means sitting in front of your sits bones, not on your sit bone, that bony part of your butt, or back behind in that kind of curved slouch down posture. That's not going to be efficient. You want to be in front of there. Now, the pelvic floor is easier to find for women than it is for men, usually because there's a lot more focus for women on the pelvic floor. So for women, the way to kind of cue if you know what your pelvic floor is, it's that place where if you did a Kegel contraction, or the muscle you would contract if you want to stop the flow of urine. Now for men, the best way to describe the pelvic floor seems to be to describe that muscle that you would kind of contract if you wanted to pull your testicles away and kind of up into your body. So say you were going into cold water, that muscle you would contract. Another way that I've heard it described that a lot of men seem to it clicks in their brain, is that muscle you would contract to get that last bit of urine out. So that's kind of a way to find where your pelvic floor is. So when I say sit in front of your sits bones and sit on your pelvic floor, you know what area I'm talking about. And when you do this, your spine is going to be in a much more neutral position, and we want it to be that way. The biggest mistake that I see people make is they want to try to do this arching through their low back to sit upright, but then they're just sitting kind of right onto their sits bones and not relaxing into it. So if you actually go forward, so rather than think about extending your back, but your weight shifting forward onto your pelvic floor, then it's going to be much more efficient and you're going to get your core muscles to fire. Now, this position of being on your pelvic floor is easier to achieve when your hips are higher than your knees, if you were to look from the side of your body. When your knees are closer to your chest, it's really hard to kind of roll your pelvis forward unless you have really good mobility through your hips to be able to roll forward onto your pelvic floor. So in general, you want to have your knees lower than your hips. So those kind of sofas where you're sinking in, not the greatest of places to sitting, especially if you have pain with sitting. So the pelvic floor is kind of the first place that we focus on when we're looking at how to get more supportive sitting. Then we'll look at the sternum or the breastbone. You don't want to have to be able to hold it up. And the efficient state, which we're going to talk about this next week when we talk about standing as well, is that your thoracic cage, your rib cage, should be able just to sit on top of your pelvis. So if you're holding it up, if you're thinking shoulders back, chest up, you're not really in an efficient position. So if your pelvic floor is firing, if you're sitting on your pelvic floor, you should be able just to relax your breastbone. I'll have patients take a deep breath in and then out and then just settle in through their chest. Just let it drop down. And when you do it, it's like you feel like you're locked in, like you're engaged, because if you're sitting more on your pelvic floor and that core muscle is starting to fire, you can relax your chest in and you're just kind of this solid base rather than feeling like you have to be in this holding pattern, holding away from it. So try to focus on just letting your chest relax. Don't be so backwards with it. Now, a way to know that you're in good posture is also if you think about the weight into your legs. So if you're sitting right now, I want you to sit back in the very back of your chair, and I want you to grab your thighs and lift the dead weight of your legs. So don't help by lifting your legs for you. You want to really feel the weight of your legs as you lift them with your hands. If you're sitting in the very back of the chair. Now sit towards the front of the chair and do the same thing. Try to lift your legs up, feel that weight, and then go to the back again and lift your legs up again as well with your arms. What you should be feeling is that your legs are heavier when you're sitting forward in the chair compared to when you're sitting back. When you're back, the weight of gravity coming through you just kind of stops in through your pelvis and it doesn't travel into your legs. We want it to travel into your legs because a lot of people that have pain with sitting have pain in their low back. So if all that force is traveling, just getting dumped into your low back, that's not good. If you sit more forward in your chair, there should be more weight in your legs. And that more weight in your leg is that force of gravity going through you and going down into the ground through your feet. Your feet and your legs were meant to carry the weight of you, right? That's what we use to walk and run and squat. We need to have those legs be able to take that weight. So why don't we have them take it when we're sitting? They don't need a break. They're fine. They're stationary. So just sit further forward in your chair and you'll find you'll have more weight through your feet and it will take the pressure off your low back. Because when your legs feel heavy, it's that transference of weight through there and not into your low back. It's much more efficient for sitting. So really kind of the rule of thumb, no pun intended, is that you should have about a thumb's length between the front of the seat and your pubic bone. That's how far forward you should be. So it's about like 3 inches, depending on how long your thumb is. So you really should be sitting more forward in your chair. And like I said, that just helps the kind of weight go through and go down into your feet rather than having to dump into your low back. So now let's talk about arm support. It's more about unweighting the elbow to unweight the arm than it is the hands or the wrist. Neck pain will often occur when the weight of the arms is pulling on the neck. So if I was just supporting my wrists and like below my elbow, so halfway down my forearm, I'm not getting the support I need. I'm not getting the unweighting of the humerus, which is the bone that's in your upper arm. I'm not unweighting that if I'm just supporting from my forearm and out, because honestly, your elbow's meant to bend. So if you're just supporting that lower half of your arm, your elbow's just bending. So you're not really getting the unweighting that you need to take the pressure off of your shoulder and your neck. So arm support should be more from the elbow, just trying to unweight, just to kind of lift up. And so you're not having this dragging down feeling of the arm onto your neck. I think we are surprised sometimes about how much a limb actually weighs, because we're always contracting and trying to hold it up. And there's always some sort of stability that we have going on there. But like I had 3 shoulder surgeries and each time they had to do a nerve block. So my arm would be completely limp and paralyzed for like 18 hours. And man, was I surprised at the weight of an arm, because it is heavy. So that all that weight is kind of pulling down on your neck. So the best way to kind of take that pressure off is to support through the elbow, just to kind of unweight that humerus bone. So those are kind of the areas that we need to support. First and foremost, I'd say sit on your pelvic floor. So you need to roll your pelvis forward. That doesn't mean you're going into back extension. It just means you're kind of hip hinging forward. Your knees should be below the level of your hips. Relax that breastbone down. Be able just to breathe. And then you want to feel the weight in your legs by having your body more forward in the chair and have that weight of your body and gravity transferring through down into the floor rather than kind of dumping into your low back. And then let's unweight those humeruses. Let's have some support underneath those elbows. Now, how do you find the perfect chair? Now, like my conversation about shoes, I'm not going to tell you this one chair is the best chair, because that's not always the case. It's what fits you best. It's what you need for your desk setup, for your body. So there's not one chair fits all, and there is a wide range of chairs out there. Like my parents, they just bought a chair that was in the thousands of dollars, while my husband, I was able to get him a chair that's $300, and both work perfectly because I fit it to them. So kind of like how you wear the clothes don't wear you. Well, the chair needs to fit to you. You don't have to fit to the chair. So you really need to kind of take the time to find the chair that works right for you. But I want to give you some key areas to look at when you're searching for a new chair, especially as a lot of people are working from home now and kind of had to create their own home offices. And you might still be able to do that going forward. You really want to make sure you have a good chair, because Unfortunately, we're a society that spends a lot of time is in them. So the key thing you want to look at is adjustability. Because like I said, you want the chair to fit you. You don't want to have to conform to the chair. So you want to have a chair that has a lot of different changes you can make and adjustability through it. So the first thing I would have a look at is, does the chair height go up and down? Can you adjust the height of the chair? Because remember, we want to make it so that our hips are above our knees. So you want to make sure that the chair can adjust appropriately so you can be in that position while still having your feet on the ground. I'll talk about that in a second, but you want to have a good position in through there. The next thing that I love of a chair is if the seat pan, or like the seat itself, if it can adjust, if it can go forward and back, because mainly I'll have you go forward because that will help encourage sitting on your pelvic floor, right? If it was back where, the front of the chair was higher than the back of the chair, then that's really hard to be able to achieve that pelvic floor sitting that you should be in. That's kind of trying to put your knees over your hips. It's too hard. So you want a seat that can almost help you encourage it. So it's not so hard to sit that way, where that seat pan will tilt downwards. So I like to have an adjustable seat pan as well. You also don't want to have a seat that's really deep. Kind of like I said, you don't want to sit all the way back. You want to sit forward in your chair so the weight's going through your legs. If that seat is really deep, because let's face it, we're not always going to be sitting forward in this unsupported way, not having our back supported when we're working, right? We're going to at times move, and that's fine. We do need to move and adjust. But if that seat depth is really big, then you're just going to be sinking way back, and it's really going to hurt your low back. So I'd rather have less of a seat depth than more. Because also too, if you're shorter, the distance from your knee to your hip is shorter, then having a really deep seat is going to be detrimental because it's going to put your knees in a weird position. It's going to be kind of pushing on the back of your knees. You don't want that. So that's why I said that not all seats are created equal, and it is all based on your height. Like my husband is 6'3". So for him, I could put him in a much deeper seat. Still not as deep as he wanted though, because he wants to relax and push back. But someone that's, say, like 5'5" is not going to be able to fit comfortably in my husband's chair. So seat depth is a big thing I look at as well. Then another thing is armrests. It's amazing how many desk chairs don't come with armrests. And I think they're really good to have for the fact of you want to be able to unweight your elbows and unweight the humerus. And I think sometimes the idea of not having armrests is because you're going to be scooched all the way forward and have your elbows on your desk. But the height of that's not always going to be right. And then your arms are in front of you, which is going to put pressure on your neck as well. You really want to be able to be at 90 and 90. So you want to just be able to be comfortably sitting through there. So having armrests is key, but armrests that are also adjustable, that can go up and down, because yet again, your height is going to have a huge impact in the length of your arms as to where the height of those armrests should be. That's why you want it to adjust. And bonus points if they can swivel in and out. I have seen chairs where the front of the armrests will kind of go inwards, which is great if you're having to do a lot of computer work and you're not on, like a good ergonomic keyboard that's kind of split. Then you want it to be so that you can still be supporting your elbows, but you can bring your hands in a little bit to be able to type and work or write, but while still staying supported. So bonus points if they also swivel in and out. That is definitely harder to find in a good chair, but is something that you should be looking for. So those are the kind of big areas. Adjustability is key when it comes to picking the right chair. And it's going to take some time to find it. So like the same thing that I was talking about, your mattress, that you're going to be lying in bed for a big majority of your life. You're also going to be sitting in your chair, unfortunately, working a lot of your life as well. Now, I love standing desks, but we're not talking about standing today. We're talking about sitting. But if you're just going to be sitting a lot at work, you really want to find a good chair that's going to support your body, especially if you already have pain with sitting, right? Why do we want to be in more pain? So adjustability is key. So what if you have to sit in a chair that's just someplace random? How do you deal with that? Or, if you're at an office that maybe they can't get the right chair for you, or it's going to be a little while till the ergonomic specialist can get to you if you do have a team in the company you work for. Well, there's still modifications you can make, right? Because I'm not just going to say that you can only be in the best chair possible and that's going to be solving everything. And if you're not in that chair, well, sucks to be you. No, there has to be ways to change things. So we're going to look at the modifications that you can make by looking at the pelvis and then at the arms. So with the pelvis, you don't want to use those lumbar supports. I really don't like those lumbar supports because all they do is they put your back into extension. I don't want your back into extension. I want your spine in a nice neutral position. Remember I was talking about how you want to be able to relax your breastbone down, how you just want to be able to kind of lock into your core. If you're in extension, you're not going to be locking into any core. You're going to be firing those parascapular muscles. Your diaphragm's not going to be able to work as well. It's just not what we want. So we want to not use those lumbar supports. They are not good. But what you do want, if you want to have some support, because I'm asking you to be a little bit more forward in your chair. And I do want you to be more forward in your chair, but I get it. It's hard to stay in that unsupported position, not having anything against your back. So if you need to put something behind you, you want to make sure that it's fully supporting your sacrum. So that's kind of like right above your tailbone and part of your pelvis. That's what you want to have kind of pushing forward, not your lumbar spine. There's a lot of motion through your lumbar spine that can occur, not as much through your sacrum. It's going to help support you. So try to think of something. You can even put a pillow and maybe put 2 pillows lower down that are pushing onto your sacrum, not onto your lumbar spine. That's not where we want the focus to be. So find a pillow, there's also like foam devices too that all the back stores that you can use, but just do not use the lumbar supports. They are not good. If you're still finding a hard time just staying onto your pelvic floor, one way that you can make it easy is you take a hand towel and you roll up the hand towel so that it's really long. So don't do it the short way, do it the long way. And then you're going to put it in a U shape or kind of like a horseshoe shape on your chair with the 2 ends going towards the front of the chair. And when you sit down on it, you want to sit down on it so that your sits bones are kind of right on it and right in front of it. And that's going to help roll your pelvis forward. It's almost kind of like creating a speed bump so you can't go back over it. It'd be uncomfortable if you went into kind of that flexion sitting, slump sitting, if you went over that towel. So you really want to have that towel just kind of right behind those sits bones, and it will help encourage you be forward. So that's an easy trick that you can make. So I have patients that are on flights and long flights and that have to travel a lot. I work with a lot of consultants. And so for them, I'm like, yeah, you're going to bring a hand towel and you're going to roll it up and sit on that so you can sit more forward. And then you're going to ask for some pillows and blankets and you're going to stuff them behind your back. You do what you have to, right? Because if you're in enough pain, you don't care how quote unquote silly you look, because it works worse if you're in pain. So you can either do the support on the sacrum pushing you forward, or you can do that U shape with the towel roll. One easy way, if you're in a chair that allows it, is you take one leg and kind of drop it back. So you have your toe, so you'd be up on your toes back behind you. And this will kind of roll your pelvis forward and make it easier. And this is also a nice way that you can then switch from side to side. So it's almost as if you wanted your knee to touch the ground is the kind of position I'm talking about. And that will roll the pelvis forward. And like I said, it's nice. You can switch it from side to side. So if you kind of get a little tired, go from one side, then you can go to the other side. If your seat is too high, you need to support your feet. So if your feet aren't able to touch when you're at the correct height, because sometimes desk heights are really high, especially if you're on the shorter side, you don't want your feet dangling. You don't want them kicking around because that weight is pulling on your low back. So you don't want that. You want to have your feet on something. So if you're in an office, sometimes you just take a box and put your feet on there, or you can get a stand and put your feet on there. Whatever it is, you always want to have your feet supported because it won't pull on your low back. Now, obviously you want the weight going through your system and into your feet, but if your feet are dangling, it's just going to be pulling and putting tension on that low back. So you want to make sure that you are supported. Now, if you want to be able to recline back, because I get it. I'm all about the reclining back. I think recliners are great, actually. It's a great way to kind of decompress the back and take a break. The important thing when you're working with a chair is that you want it to be able to recline with the seat pan reclining too. You don't want it to be that just the backrest reclines back, because that puts a lot of pressure on your spine. You just want to take it as whatever perfect angle you got there with that seat pan being tipped down a little bit, that the whole thing reclines back. So you're still keeping that same posture in terms of the angle of your hips, but you're just rotating or kind of easing back into it, reclining back. So I'm all about recliners. Recliners are great as long as everything is reclining back and not just the back piece. So I'm great with people then kind of sliding back and relaxing and just kind of decompressing by being back there. I also have patients that have multiple screens going on. And if they have screens that are high, like I had one guy had 9 screens going at all times that he needed to be looking at. And so for him, I was like, yes, we need to have a chair that is going to recline and that the seat pan is going to recline back with you too, because rather than him going into head extension to look at those higher screens, I wanted him just to be able to recline back. And when you're reclining back, you also want to have your feet supported. So we had something that when he would recline back, his feet then would go up onto another box that was further in front. And so he could be in the appropriate position, but in a reclined position. So if you are going to recline back, which, like I said, I'm fine with as long as the whole thing reclines, you want to make sure that your feet are also supported in that reclined position as well. Because yes, if you're going to take this toss up, do I want him to have 9 screens? Probably not, but his job required it. He needed to be looking at 9 screens. So you need to make modifications as things go. So let's talk about the armrest now. What can we do about the armrest? Because like I said, there's a lot of ones that don't have armrests out there, and I just don't understand. There's a few things you can do. If you do have armrests, but they're not high enough, they're not at the desired height to be able to unweight the humerus, then just tape some towels to it. Bring the armrest up to you rather than you trying to bend forward and slouch to feel that unweighting of your arms. That's not good. We don't want that. So we want to build up the armrests to your elbow to be able to unweight the humerus. And the easiest way to do that is just do some towels and some tape. I mean, you could get fancy if you want to, but honestly, just towels and tape, not a big deal. Now let's say that you don't have any armrests. What are you going to do? There's a few things. You could put a pillow on your lap so your elbows are supported that way. And it'll be like a firmer pillow that you want to do, and probably a down pillow, right? Because if you listen to the sleep episode, I like my down better because you're not conforming to it. It's conforming to you. So you can have a down pillow that's on your lap that's unweighting your elbows. Remember, you're unweighting from the elbows, not lower down, because elbows bent. So that's not helping. Now, if you're really bad, and I've had patients that are really bad and just have so much tensioning and pulling on their neck, then you really want to unweight the shoulders better. So the best way to do that is actually you're going to need 2 pillows then. And you're going to stick one pillow and have it right up into your armpits going across your chest. You're going to pull it right up in there, and that will just kind of unweight from the shoulders and give that a little bit of give so that nerve tension you might be having and down into your arms and pulling on your neck won't be there. So you have the one pillow across your chest, stuffed right up into your armpits, and then the other one's going to be across your lap, supporting at your elbows. Now, I know this might seem a little extreme, but for the people that are really suffering with neck pain and nerve pain, this is the appropriate thing to do, and this is what they need to do. Now, I have a patient recently that she was embarrassed to do that, but she was working from home more, and I said, well, when you're not on a conference call where they need to see you in video, then you can be working in that position to unweight your arms just to give your shoulders and your neck a break. And then when you need to be on video, then you just have the pillow in your lap and they can't see that anyways. So you kind of, play around with it, but it's not a bad thing because yet again, why do you want to be in pain? So there's ways to work around it. So even if you can't find the perfect seat, because there are chairs out there, but like I said, it's more that you need to get the chair to work for you than you work for the chair. There's different modifications that you can make. So hopefully it starts to unlock the mystery of ergonomics. Because like I said, if you could have a whole fleet of physical therapists that all they do are ergonomics, it's a little bit more of a complicated situation. But if you focus on these just few key areas and make those changes, I think your sitting is going to be much more comfortable. Thank you for tuning in to this episode of the Body Fusion Therapy Podcast. Please share it with your friends and family, as well as leave a review if you liked what you heard today. We're looking forward to continuing this journey of looking at the body. Tune in next time.